right? I actually had 3 awkward conversations last year. 2 of them went well and have strengthened the friendships. 1 has ended in the friendship fading, and that's fine.
So were there 3 besides the one you and I had?
Yeah, there was. Yeah,
so I had a lot of awkward conversations last year.
Yeah, because I'm an advocate for it, right? I'm like,
you don't
feeling
practice what you preach over there. That's right.
Yeah, exactly. So the first section was lack of trust. And when researchers interviewed adults about making friends in a recent study, the most important challenge cited was lack of trust. That is, people found it harder to put their trust in someone new and fully invest in them as a friend compared to when they were younger. And why do we think that is? Well, the article suggests that it may be because we have more self-awareness than we did as children. So I would certainly agree on this. I'd say we definitely have a deeper frame of reference. We're a lot more cautious. For me, I've certainly spent a few years now trying to understand myself and what I want from my friendships. So I've let a lot of friends go. Last year was almost like a friend culling session. I was like, no, you're not in my circle anymore. And I had this joke with a couple of other friends that I've since, spent a lot more time with. When I first met them, I was in a coffee shop with one of my friends who I hang out with now every week. And I said to her, I was like, look, I'm actually recruiting friends at the moment. And I said, I think that you would be a good candidate. And she just started laughing. I said, because I just feel that you're like me, you're a little different and stuff. Yeah. And I said, so, today I'm going to be interviewing you for the role as my friend. And it's, it sounds absurd, but it's worked well. I've got 100% strike rate with these 2 new friends I've made. Yeah. But, that's the big thing for me is, I removed some toxic friendships that I just had there, and I felt like I needed to keep those people in my life because we'd known each other and it was a sense of loyalty and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But they were toxic friendships, and it was getting rid of those friends, which may sound harsh, but getting rid of those friends opened up the opportunity for me to make new friends. Yeah. And I think as well, by getting rid of those toxic friendships, I was a lot less stressed, and that probably came across to people that I was interacting with. So I just wondered, Amanda, have you had any kind of similar journeys in your friendships over the past couple of years?
Yeah, for sure. Because I think part of it too, and this sounds like conceited or kind of arrogant to say, but I don't mean it that way. It's just that it's the way it is that, so it's been 3 years, well, almost 3 years since I quit my full-time job and just started off doing my own thing with my blog and my website and everything, and then started doing this. And so even before that, I was like on a personal growth journey, or whatever you want to call it. But that's when I really kicked into high gear, and people really started noticing changes in me. And well, just because there was that outward change where I was doing something different and taking that big risk, which it surprised a lot of people because I am an accountant by trade and we're not known for being risk takers. And so, that surprised a lot of people. And then just all the growth I've had, I've had several people who were like, oh, well, you've changed and blah, blah, blah. Like it was a bad thing. And there was one particular person who I had that interaction with that we haven't talked in I don't know, at least 2 years, maybe more going on 3. It's whatever. We haven't talked in a long time, and we had been friends for over 20 years. But the arrogant, conceited part is that that's what happens when you do start becoming, I say, a better person. That's not the right word, but when you start becoming clearer about what you want out of life, and you start making positive changes in your life, and the trajectory, I'm not good at saying that word, trajectory of your life starts going up. The people who are stagnant or who's staying in the same place, sometimes they're really threatened by that. And not only, I think it makes them kind of feel bad about themselves, but I also feel like that's not all of it. I think they also feel like they've lost you, like they don't know you anymore. And I think that's part of it, is they don't recognize you anymore and they don't know how to deal with that.
Yeah.
So I've definitely had that. And I guess maybe that's part of the trust, because now that I think about that, because you said that was the biggest hindrance to making new friends was that it's hard to trust people. And I guess that makes sense now that I'm saying that, because this person, we've been friends for over 20 years. She kind of has an idea of who I am and what to expect from me. Maybe I did break that trust with her because now she doesn't know what to expect from me. You know, and I never looked at it that way.
That's interesting. It makes me always think of that, like, I don't know, that covert contract thing we talked about ages ago.
Yes.
So it's almost like
so can you explain what that was a little bit?
Yeah, so we had an episode ages ago now, so we'll put the a link to it in the show notes. But it was basically about these contracts that, and this particular author was talking about in relationships, romantic relationships, and how we write these contracts that, these unwritten contracts that we never share with the other person. And if they don't meet that contract, we start to resent them and get really frustrated. And meanwhile, they're sitting there thinking, hold on, I don't understand why you're angry at me, And then you just word vomit at them and say, because of all these issues, and this person's sitting there going, sorry, what? I don't understand what the issue is here. And I feel like it's the same in friendships, because it's almost in a way like, okay, I've signed a contract with Amanda now, and Amanda will stay the way she is forever. And if she changes, I'm going to be really mad at her because she signed a contract that said she wouldn't change. So maybe there's that. Maybe it flows into, just normal everyday friendships as well. And that is why people kind of fall out of your circle, because they're like, oh, I don't know who you are. I can't trust you. You changed without consulting me about this change. You should have amended the contract.
Right. Well, and that's a good way to look at it, because I did not look at it at the time. I didn't look at it that way. And I didn't look at it that way until just now. Like maybe that would be a better way to handle the situation if it were to happen again, where someone's trying to shut you out instead of the other way around. Like you're not shutting them out, they're shutting you out. Is to look at that part of it, is that maybe that's wise. They just don't. And if you had that honest conversation about it, maybe you would come to realize that you still wanted to continue that friendship.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I'd say, if I think about the trust part, there were two people that I don't really speak to anymore. And they broke my trust.
Okay.
Now, it's interesting because I'll talk about this in the third segment, but I always think there's an opportunity to sit down and have a really honest conversation with somebody, right? So I could choose to have a conversation with both of these people and say, hey, you broke my trust. I never confronted you about it, but that really hurt me, and that's why I've gravitated away from you. Now, I've thought about that, but I also look at this friendship and think, well, what am I getting from this friendship? I didn't really get a lot from it anyways. It was quite a superficial relationship with, it didn't really add a lot of value to my life, and that may sound harsh. There may be people there thinking, well, why do you have to get something from your friendship? But I think you need to.
You do, because you put energy into it. You
do.
You only have so much time in a day. So if you're going to give time to someone, you should get something out of it.
Yeah. So these two people, I thought, no, I don't like, because having an honest conversation is difficult. Amanda and I have had one ages ago, and it was uncomfortable. And I'll talk about two other ones I had later. Both very uncomfortable, because they're never nice to have to say, hey, I didn't like that thing.
Right.
And then you'll probably hash it out, because there'll be, one person's view and then the other view. And, it'll be a bit awkward at first, because we're human beings, and that's what happens. But I can guarantee, if the friendship's good, you'll come out the other side and be like, I'm so glad we had that conversation. But with these two that broke my trust, I looked at that and thought, look, I'm going to have to exert a lot of energy to have this awkward conversation, and I just weigh up all of the information, and I don't think it's worth my energy. So I'm just happy to let them go. So I think that's the other thing too, is, just because maybe, as an adult, you don't have as many friends as you did as a kid, don't feel that you have to hang on to these relationships, because of fear of, oh no, I'm going to be alone. If you make that informed judgment call to say, look, I am annoyed about something, but I really don't think it's worth my time and effort to fight for this friendship, let it go and see what happens. You might have something good come out the other side, in terms of another friendship.
For sure.
But I had one kind of other question for you. So, like,
Yeah.
what do you value most in friendships, now? So even looking at the last 3 or 4 years.
Well, I would say trust, obviously, but I think trust is a big thing for me just in general. But I think more specifically, trusting that they will be there for me when I need them. And again, that sounds selfish, but that's what a friend is at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's why you have friends and family, so that when something happens to you, you have people to turn to. Now, well, there's different levels of friends. I guess I'm talking about people that are like in my inner circle friends, which there's only a few. I mean, but I guess that's what I'm thinking of as a friend. Like if it's just a superficial friendship, then I would just want someone who's fun to talk to and goofy and doesn't take themselves too seriously. And I guess I would want those things in both types of friends, because that's important to me too. Is like somebody who you can have a good time with and who can help you. I don't know, to me too, it's someone who brings out the best in you or brings out the part of you that you like. I guess that's because now that I'm talking that through, when I met my husband, Dan, I remember telling my mom that was one of the things I liked most about Dan. It was that he made me like who I was. And I didn't always like who I was when I was with my ex-husband. And I'm like, I like who I am when I'm with him. And because he brings out a good side or the best parts of me. And so I think a good friend would do that as well.
Yeah. That's nice. I like that. I feel the same about my fiance Nat as well. Yeah. I'd say I'd be in the same category as you. I didn't necessarily like myself, but like before I was with Nat.
Yeah.
But Nat has really made me come to realize, particularly my goofy side. And we are just goofy at times. We just sit there going, wow. Like if people watched us right now, they'd be like, these two are weird. But we're having fun.
Well, yeah.
So I think
that is a big part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're right. Like, I guess it's kind of, and we'll talk about this. We're going to do an episode hopefully next week on Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson, two of our faves. And they talk about a sense of play. So I think that's a new concept for me. I've heard about it a little bit, but not in the way these guys talk about it. But I think that's it. An ability to be able to sit down, have a good conversation, playful conversation.
Yes.
And, that's like the adult form of kind of as you were kids, just acting out and being silly and having fun. So,
right.
Yeah, that's a good quality to have, I think.
So what are your top qualities then?
I'd say the same.
And these people you've been interviewing for the position, what?
Well, what I like
on their resume.
Authenticity is big. I like people because there's just so many people out there that are just bullshit, in my opinion. Like, I look at them and I think you are so fake, and you've probably had your mask on or your persona, whatever you want to call it. You've had your persona on for so long, you don't even know who you really are.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think maybe it's because, I think one of my strengths is I really focus and analyze people really closely. So I'm just at that point now, I can really go and tell when somebody's being sincere or not. Okay. And both these people that I've recruited to my friendship group are so sincere, like vulnerable, right? Have just presented vulnerability to me really quickly. And I just liked it. I was like, wow, thank you for being so raw and honest with me. And then it just, I don't know, I mirrored that behavior and I was as equally raw and honest with them. And it just carved out these really good friendships with people that I've had so much fun with. Yeah. And it's really important. We'll talk about lack of time in the next segment. There's somebody I'm catching up with next week, and I'm so excited to hang out with her because we had a coffee and we sat there and had a big, long chat because we'd caught up in like a few kind of meeting settings at Menzies, which is the place where I study. But we went out for a coffee, and I really enjoyed the catch up, like to the point I got in the car and it was like, being a kid again, being like, that was such a cool friendship. I really want to go and like hang out with them again. But, and, I'm going to ask her when we catch up next week, did you think that was a really cool catch up or not? Like, anyways, but it was a case where I needed to make that time. I kept putting it on the back burner, being like, oh, I've got so much on.
Yeah.
But then I thought, no, that was an awesome, energizing catch up. I need to make time for that, and reached out, and she was like, yeah, like I was meaning to message you, let's catch up. So yeah, I think authenticity is a big one to add into the mix for me.
That's true.
I just want to see the real you. I don't want to see the bullshit version that you present at work. But I also can appreciate that a lot of people would have that bullshit version because because the world is full of people feeling the need to put that face on, and they probably don't trust me enough to show me the real them. So I probably got to have a bit of compassion for them too, I guess.
Well, of course, yeah. But I think in your case too, because if you really did say to them that you were interviewing them for the job, which I believe you did say that.
Yeah, I did.
That immediately makes you vulnerable because you could come off as a real jackass saying that. So, I mean, you could, depending on how it went. So you made yourself very vulnerable, right?
Yeah, true.
Them be more vulnerable. And I know we're going to talk about vulnerability later, I think.
Yeah.
So I won't go
so you should try it. Give it a go. Just I mean, I think
I don't know if I have the guts to do that.
It has to be with